Welcome students, welcome to the next video of my channel. Today I will be starting the first chapter of class 11, that is Science of Life. This chapter will be covering a few topics. I will be discussing this chapter in two parts. In today's video I'll be discussing about a few topics, and this is the part 1. I will be uploading part 2 in upcoming days. So the topic which I'll be discussing today are what is biology, biology as a science, some popular scientists, biology and its twin branches, science of life introduction. This PowerPoint, this PPT will be covering almost everything, but for more information you should be following your textbook. For all the ISC, CBSC as well as the WB students, they should be following their textbook, not only this PPT. This PPT is just for your help, just for your guidance, but you have to follow your textbook for more information, for more detailed knowledge. So students, let's start. Firstly, I'll be talking about what is biology. Now this is a very basic question. Every biology teacher, every life science teacher will always ask as he or she enters the class. He or she will ask, what do you understand about biology? What the first thing comes in your mind when we talk about biology? This is a very basic question all the teacher asks. So as on the same side, I am also asking this, what is actually biology? What does in your mind come when I take the word biology? Now biology is nothing. Biology is a science which always deals with something lively. It always deals with some living organisms. Now Grove and Ewell in 1989 proposed a definition. They gave a definition, that is, biology is the science which deals with the study of all the varied aspects of life or living organisms. As I already said, as the word biology comes up in our mind, bio is life, as we all know, and logy is the study. So it's the study of life, or it's a study of living organisms, all related to living organisms we are dealing with. It deals with is in the biology. So it's nothing, it's not at all difficult to understand, just the definition of biology. There is also an alternative definition. I've just given this alternative definition for your extra knowledge or your extra understanding. A branch of science that deals with the living organisms and its vital processes. Now vital processes, we mean that it can be any biochemical process, it can be any physical process, it can be any chemical process. So all the processes taking place in our body, taking place in the living organisms, deals with the biology. Like biology deals with that. So here is just a simple image to make the PPT more presentable. So let's go on to the next slide. Now the next topic of your chapter, if you follow your textbook nicely, the next topic is biology as a science. Now what is science? Just now I said what is biology. Now you have to understand what is science. If you don't understand what is science, you will not be able to understand what is biology, because biology is a group which is falling under science. Science is a broad classification, or the broad, the main branch of the tree is science, and the small branches are biology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, etc., etc. So biology is a subgroup of science. Now the word science is derived from the Latin word scientia, meaning knowledge. This sentence, I don't think so I need to define this, or I need to explain this. Is a very common sentence. Let's go on to the next sentence. Biology is the science that deals with the study of living things. It is the science of life. Here also I don't need to understand, don't need to explain anything. The most working principle of biology as a science is to establish the belief that living organisms obey the law of physics and chemistry. Already I have said that whenever we talk about biology, whenever we talk about living organisms, vital processes comes up in our mind. So these vital processes is nothing but the biochemical processes, the physical, the chemical processes taking place in our life. So whenever we are talking about living organisms, that living organism should obey the laws of physics and chemistry. Biology is made up of physics and chemistry. It cannot deal alone. Like, I can just say that science is just the main branch, and in that main branch there are subdivisions like biology, physics, mathematics, chemistry. All are interrelated. If you think of this, why am I calling they are interrelated? This is very easy. Like, if you talk about biology, physics, chemistry, mathematics will come up. Like, you have to deal with the position, the posture that deals with physics, the chemical processes that is taking place, the enzymatic reactions that is taking place in our body, that is chemistry. And why maths? Maths is also related to biology, because if we calculate something, the calculation part is maths. So maths is also related to biology. So it's very simple. If we talk about biology, maths, physics, chemistry comes up. If we talk about physics, same. You have to talk about biology, chemistry, maths, because some physical processes is also related to biology. You have to take up an example of living organism. So all are interrelated. If we speak about maths, if we talk about maths, if you're giving an example that this particular man is walking this much distance and then this much distance, I'm just giving an example, I'm not going into deep. So here we are talking about a living organism. So there is biology. So everything is interrelated. You can't just speak about one and leave the rest. All are interrelated. Let's go on to the next slide. Now we will be talking about some popular scientists. Now, these scientists which I'm going to talk about now have been playing a very, very important role in biology. Biology would not have been possible without these scientists. Firstly comes up the name of Lamarck and Troyanus. They first used the term biology. Obviously, somebody have to use the term biology, or somebody have to coin the term biology. So these two scientists first used the term biology. Troyanus and Lamarck, the study of living organisms, in the year 1801. Now comes up Aristotle, from 384 to 322 BC. I'm talking about an ancient period when science was not as much developed as it is now. Technology was not as much developed as now. But if we talk about today's technology, this would have not been possible if these particular scientists would not have coined these terms, if these scientists would not have invented these, if these scientists would not have made up the laws. This would not have been possible without them. So they are the pillars of science. We can say them as the pillars of science. They have very, very, very big contributions to our science. Without them, today's technology, today's science, today's biology would not have been possible. So we cannot at all think science without them. I am talking about all the biologists, scientists who has been dealing with biology, because my channel is all related to biology. If you talk about mathematics, there are scientists who have been coining many terms, who have been inventing many terms, who have been inventing laws, calculations, etc. Same goes for physics as well as chemistry. So the next comes Aristotle, 384 to 322 BC. He was a Greek philosopher and was the first to recognize plants and animals as living objects. So he is called the father of biology. Now, he was the first scientist who recognized plants and animals as living objects. Like, just imagine, if he would not have been recognizing plants and animals as living objects, then might be it would have been taking more long years to recognize them as living objects. It would have been taking more long time to recognize them as they are living organisms. So he was the first to recognize plants and animals as living objects. He is called the father of biology. So you can understand what is his contribution to biology. Then comes Theophatus, 370 to 285 BC. He studied plants and was called the father of botany. Then comes Hippocrates, 460 to 377 BC. He is called the father of medicine. Now imagine, in today's world we see, in today's days we see so many companies, so many medicine companies being launching, so many medicine companies being inventing different types of medicines, etc., etc. But he was called as the father of medicine. He is called as the father of medicine. So he was definitely the first person who made some kind of medicine. I'm not going into details, because if I go into details then this whole PPT is gonna be very long. Like it's gonna be 1 hour or 2 hours. You all people will get bored. So I'm just going into a few details, a few minor details without which the PPT is going to be incomplete. So he was called as the father of medicine as he first rationalized the science of healing and treating the sick. Do you get my point? So from here we can infer that biology flourished a great deal in ancient India, 2500 to 650 BC. Let's go on next slide. Some more popular scientists. Gregor Johann Mendel. Now, you all have been knowing this name. Whenever you have been starting with biology, you have been starting with the chapter genetics, which I'll be coming up in the next few videos. In the next few days, I will be uploading the video on genetics. I will be talking about this person who was the main pillar behind introducing genetics, Gregor Johann Mendel. Now, Gregor Johann Mendel, through his works on pea plants, discovered the fundamental laws of inheritance. He was the first to invent the laws of inheritance. He deduced that genes always come in pairs and are inherited as distinct units, one from each parent. So from each parent we get one particular gene that sums up, and the main gene is made, like it comes up in pair, and from each parent it comes one. He established the laws of Mendel, that is laws of heredity. Next comes Charles Darwin. He is also identified as being one of the most famous biologists and has published Origin of Species by means of natural selection. He has published Origin of Species by means of natural selection. Now, natural selection is the process by which he published this Origin of Species. Now comes Louis Pasteur. He is again a very much popular scientist who has a huge contribution to biology. He first stated that disease were caused by pathogenic microbes. Now today, in our modern science, we are studying microbiology. Microbiology is in a huge popular demand. Like, people are studying microbiology, scientists are inventing this, they are inventing that. Now, who was the first to invent this? Who was the first to invent that pathogenic microbes caused the disease? This was Louis Pasteur. Let's go on to the next slide. Biology and its twin branches. Now, whenever we talk about biology, we should be speaking about how to divide biology. Now, the main two branches, or we can say as the twin branches, without whom division of biology is impossible. The living world comprises of plants and animals mainly, hence it is convenient to divide biology into two twin branches. One comprising of plants known as botany, Greek word botane meaning herb, and the other concerning with animals known as zoology, Greek word zoon meaning animal. Now, these are the two classifications which we can make, that is, one is the botany and one is the zoology. So these are the two main branches. Now we can divide biology into many. This is actually a more broader classification of biology, but if one needs to actually divide biology into its branches, then there are many. Microbiology, physiology, neurology, gastroenterology, and these can be further subdivided. Now imagine, how can biology be divided? Now these are the two main branches. So these are called twin branches. Let's go on to the next slide. Science of life, introduction. Now, firstly, when we are talking about science of life, like we are speaking about life, a thing comes up in our mind. What is actually life? What is actually life? Let's go on to the slide. Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher, was the first to recognize plants and animals as living objects, as I have already said. But his only drawback was that he failed to find a precise definition for life. He could not just define life, that was his drawback. But he was the first to recognize plants and animals as living objects, but he could not give a definition, give a proper definition, which we all students need. How to define this, how to define that. He couldn't give a definition for life, but still he recognized plants and animals as living objects. Actually, the vital force that keeps the organism living is life. So it's such an easy definition, right? Can't be easier than this. So life is nothing but what? But the organism which is being lively. The force which is keeping the organism lively is actually life. There is a force which is keeping the living organism lively. There is a force which is keeping me, which is keeping you all lively. That is life. We actually cannot give an exact definition for life. For this reason, he was unable to give a definition for life. But still, in upcoming days, in the following days after Aristotle, people started giving some definitions of life. So this is a very general definition that is given for life. In fact, life is abstract. We cannot define life. Life is inseparable from the organism itself and fails to exist outside the living body. If we think that life can exist outside living body, it's impossible. It's completely impossible. We can't even think of that. Like, how can we think? Like I am a person and I don't have a life in me. Then how will be I lively? How am I being called a living person? Or else, how will I be called as a living organism? It's impossible, right? So we cannot think a living organism without life. Before Aristotle, none has been even thought of giving a precise definition to life. Or in other words, we can say that no one even thought about that idea. So, though Aristotle has some drawbacks in his giving a precise definition for his life, at least he was the first to think of that idea. For that reason, Aristotle is Aristotle. No one can take his place. So this makes the fact completely important, and for this, Aristotle's contribution to biology is huge. Some more facts. If we are talking about life, some basic points do come up in our mind, and those are: the cell is the basic unit for life. As we all know, cell is the basic unit for life. Life is made up of cells, and cell is the basic unit of life. All the cell, if you sum up all the cells, a life is made up. A single cell gives birth to a baby. Can you understand? A single cell gives birth to a baby. A baby's life starts with a single cell. From that, it becomes multicellular, and then from that, an organism. All organisms have two kinds of energy in them. Potential energy, which is the stored energy that stays in rest, and the other one is the kinetic energy, that is workable energy for the dynamic form. Life as such involves a ceaseless conversion of the potential to kinetic form. Now, whenever we are talking about life and when we are talking about an organism, there are two kinds of energy. One is the potential energy and one is the kinetic energy. Potential energy is the energy which is stored energy that stays in rest, and the other one is the kinetic energy, which is the workable energy. Always, to make something lively, the potential energy has to be converted to kinetic form. All organisms maintains a stable internal environment. There is a stable internal environment. If there is some disbalance in that internal environment, then particularly some mishap is going to happen. Some or the other mishap is going to happen. Continued, all activities of the living body is the result of the constant conversion of the potential or the stored energy of the body into kinetic one. These activities are known as the characteristics of life. Life is an energy-rich substance which acquires energy through the activities of a complex chemical substance known as protoplasm, which is provided with a system of self-maintaining equilibrium and helps the individual to adapt to the constantly changing environment to maintain a steady state. Now, whenever we talk about life, there is a complex chemical substance that is making up the cell. There is protoplasm. Whenever we are talking about cell, what is the cell made up of? The cell is made up of protoplasm. Protoplasm is nothing but the whole of the cell comprising of the cell, which is including cytoplasm and nucleus. Here is an image. I have given a simple image to make you students understand, make you all understand that what is actually protoplasm. Protoplasm is nothing. This is nucleus and this is cytoplasm. Both make up the protoplasm. All the living matter in a cell. All the living matter in a cell means if we talk about a cell, the whole cell is actually the protoplasm. Now this protoplasm, which is provided with a system of self-maintaining equilibrium, this protoplasm is in a self-maintaining equilibrium state and helps the individual to adapt to the constantly changing environment. The environment is changing constantly. But for that changing environment, the protoplasm needs to what? The protoplasm needs to maintain itself, maintain the equilibrium of itself and maintain a steady state. So who is doing that? Protoplasm is doing that. Otherwise, it would be very much difficult for the cell to maintain itself, maintain a steady state when this environment is changing. So, this was all about today's video, today's lecture. Thank you students. I hope you all like the video. And if you like, do like, share and subscribe and keep following my channel for the next upcoming video. I'll be soon uploading my next part and I will be covering the whole of the chapter. So see you on the next video. Till then, bye bye.